You're a fisherman in 1293. The river is frozen. The fish are laughing. You haven't eaten a proper meal in 3 days. But, sure, technically, you had a handful of frozen turnip slices yesterday. If chewing ice-flavored wood counts as nutrition. The village healer says turnips are cleansing. You're pretty sure she's just out of ideas. This morning you don't rise from bed. You simply unfreeze from the plank you sleep on. Your house is technically made of wood, though house is generous. It's a box, one you share with your cousin, a rat, and the ghost of ambition. The roof leaks cold air like it's been paid to do it. Your breath comes out in thick clouds. You watch it float up and disappear. It's the only thing you own that escapes. You wrap your cloak around yourself. It's not a real cloak. It's a potato sack you found in the river last year. Still smells faintly of rot, but warmer than nothing. You tie it at the neck with a bit of frayed twine, which you think used to be part of a noose. You hope not. But also, maybe. Your boots are technically boots. What they are in reality, two shoes that died long ago and now exist only out of spite. One sole is missing entirely. The other is just attached enough to give you hope, and then betray it with every step. You grab your fishing pole. It's a stick. You tied a string to it. No one calls you a master fisherman because no one calls you anything. They mostly avoid eye contact. The river is a short walk away, just past the field of disappointment and the tree that probably hates you. You've named the tree Jeffrey because it looks like a Jeffrey. The tree judges you every time you pass, and somehow you always feel guilty. When you reach the river, you stop. It's worse than yesterday. The ice is thicker. The snow crunches beneath your boots, or maybe that's your toes breaking. You can't tell anymore. You sit at the edge and stare at the surface. It stares back, frozen, white, and silent. Somewhere under that thick crust of death, fish are swimming. You imagine them pointing up at you, telling their children, "That's the sad man. He tries every day. It's adorable." You hack at the ice with a small metal tool. It's technically a spoon. It belonged to your grandmother. She used it to feed 13 children. You now use it to stab a frozen river. Life is weird. It takes 47 minutes to get a hole big enough to fish through. Your hands are numb. Your face is stiff. Your soul is somewhere between sarcastic and done. You drop the line in and wait. You always wait. You think about your life. You're 28, which makes you ancient by village standards. You've buried 3 friends. One froze, one drowned, and one got stepped on by a cow. You don't trust cows anymore. Your stomach growls, loudly. You whisper "shut up" to it, like it's a separate creature. Sometimes it feels like one. A boy walks past with a loaf of bread. Actual bread. You watch him like he's a holy vision. He glares at you and hurries away. You wonder how he got that bread. Probably crime. Or relatives. You tug at the line. Nothing. Not even a nibble. The fish are smarter than you. You hate them. An hour passes. Then another. You feel your leg cramping, but it's hard to tell where your leg ends and the frost begins. You pull the line up. The bait is gone. You didn't even feel it. A fish stole from you. A criminal fish. A fish with no morals. You sigh. You don't remember the last time you sighed with hope. Now you sigh like it's a muscle exercise. You rebait the line with your last crumb of bread. It's more mold than bread, but maybe fish like penicillin. You cast it again. This time you talk to the river. You say, "Please," just that. One word, like a prayer, but lower budget. Nothing answers. You hallucinate a fish poking its head up and winking. You laugh. Or maybe you cry. They sound the same these days. A snowflake lands on your nose. You try to lick it for moisture. You miss. Somehow. You check the line again. It's tangled. You stare at it like it betrayed your family. You try to untangle it, but your fingers don't move properly, they feel like spoons. You wonder if that's how your grandmother felt. Probably not. She was tough. You're mostly frostbite and sarcasm. Suddenly the wind picks up. It hits your face like an insult from someone you respect. Your ears start to ache. You put your hood up. It's just the sack flopping forward. It doesn't help. You pretend it does. Another hour. You try to remember why you chose this job. Then you remember, no one else was hiring, and you had a stick. You once dreamed of being a baker. But your only attempt ended with a small fire and a very angry goose. You don't talk about it. Finally, after 4 hours, the line tugs. A real tug. You panic. You pull too fast. The hook comes up empty. You stare at it. The fish was teasing you. You whisper, "I get it." The river says nothing. It doesn't need to. You already know. You stay there. Not because you think something good will happen, but because you don't know where else to go. Home is just a colder version of this. At least here you can pretend you're doing something. You shift your weight. Your legs are pins and needles, except it's more like needles and ice. Your left foot might be dying. That's fine. It wasn't your favorite. You stare at the hole in the ice like it's a window into failure. Somewhere down there, fish are living their stupid little lives. Swimming, eating, being smug. You wonder if they laugh. You wonder if they tell stories about you. The sad man with the stick who never learns. You imagine a fish council. They wear tiny hats. One slaps the table and says, "He's back." The others sigh. One fish says, "Let him have a minnow this time," just to keep the joke alive. You smile at that, and then immediately hate yourself for smiling. Behind you the wind makes the trees whisper, or scream. Hard to tell. You hear footsteps crunching the snow. You turn your head, slowly, like it's made of stone. It's Father Gorell, the local priest. He walks like he knows something you don't, which is probably true. He always smells faintly of wine and superiority. He stops beside you, looks at the hole, then at you. "Any luck?" he asks. You shake your head. He nods, like he expected that. Then he says, "God helps those who help themselves." And then he leaves. You consider pushing him in the river, not seriously, just lightly. The sun is starting to set. You watch it drop behind the trees like it's too tired to keep going. You relate. You pull the line up one last time. It's empty. Of course it is. Why wouldn't it be? You pack up your things. The stick, the string, the disappointment. You walk home slowly. Each step is an effort. Your bones sound like ice cracking. You pass Jeffrey the tree. He shakes slightly in the wind. You give him a look. He doesn't deserve a word. When you reach your hut, your cousin is inside, wrapped in all the blankets, which is to say, one blanket and a curtain someone threw away last summer. He nods at you. You nod back. That's all the conversation you have energy for. You sit by the fire. It's not really a fire. It's 2 embers and some wishful thinking. You try to warm your hands. They don't feel like hands anymore. More like frozen tools you happen to be attached to. Your cousin says, "Catch anything?" You say, "A cold." He doesn't laugh. Not because it's not funny, but because he's too tired to. You both sit in silence. The kind of silence that's not peaceful, just exhausted. The kind of silence that says, "We're alive, but we're not bragging about it." Eventually, he lies down. You lie down too, on the wooden slab that was once part of a barn. You pull your sack cloak tighter. It doesn't help. The wind howls outside. You listen to it, like it's trying to tell you something. Probably something unkind. You close your eyes. You don't sleep. You hover in that space between consciousness and frostbite. You dream of warm bread. Then the bread screams and turns into a fish. When morning comes, it's not really morning, just a slightly lighter version of night. You sit up. Everything cracks. including your hope. You go back to the river. Of course you do. You sit. You stab the ice. You fish. It's the same every day. Sometimes someone from the village comes by and asks how you're doing. You lie. You say, "All right." It's easier than explaining the hole in your soul. One time, a merchant from the city passed through. He gave you a silver coin for helping him fix a wheel. You bought meat, real meat. You cried when you ate it. Not loudly, just one tear. It froze before it hit your chin. Now the coin is gone, the merchant is gone, and you're still here. With your stick, and your river, and the fish that never bite. You start singing to yourself. It's not a real song, just a rhythm to keep your mind from unraveling. Something like, "Fishy, fishy, cold and bold, I hope you die when you get old." You smile at your own misery. That's how far it's gone. A crow lands nearby. It watches you. You nod at it. It nods back. That's the most meaningful connection you've had in weeks. You catch nothing that day, or the next, or the next, but you keep going, because you're a fisherman. And the river? The river never forgets to remind you who's boss. The next morning you wake up to find your fingers won't bend. Not fully. They feel stiff, like they've been replaced with frozen carrots. You wave them in front of your face. They still look like fingers, just bluer. You breathe on them. Nothing happens. You try to flex them again. One makes a noise like an old door. You decide that's a sign of progress. You step outside. The sky is the color of regret. Gray, heavy, and full of "not today." The ground crunches under your feet. It's not snow. It's last night's hope, shattered and refrozen. You walk toward the river again. You don't think about it. You just go, like a fish trying to swim upstream to a waterfall that doesn't care. You pass 3 villagers on the way. They don't say anything. They see your fishing pole and already know the story. You see their faces and already know they've eaten something warm this week. Lucky them. When you reach the river, you find someone's already there. You squint. It's Joran, the baker's cousin who decided he was also a fisherman now. He has a fancy new pole. He says it's from the city, has a reel, and a hook that isn't made of bent nail. You hate him on sight. He looks over and nods. "Morning," he says, like this is a picnic. You grunt. He lowers his line into the ice hole like he's playing a game. He whistles. You jab the ice with your spoon. The ice doesn't care. It never cares. You wonder how deep it goes. Maybe it leads to a different life. A warmer one. One with soup. You cut a new hole. It takes longer today. Your arm shakes. The wind bites. The ice is tougher than usual. Maybe it's in a mood. Finally, the hole opens. You sit down and drop the line in. The same movement, the same prayer, the same silence. Joran says something about technique. You ignore him. Then, he gets a bite. You both hear it. His pole bends. His eyes light up. You stare. He pulls. Slowly. Dramatically. Like a theater kid performing hunger. Out comes a fish. Real. Silver. Flopping. Alive. You stare like it's a god. Joran laughs. "Beginner's luck," he says. You want to feed him to the fish. He keeps fishing. He catches 2 more. You get nothing. Not even an insult from the river. Eventually, he leaves. Says something like, "Better luck tomorrow." You hope he trips. You hope the fish get revenge. You keep fishing. You don't blink. You glare at the hole like you can will food into it. The sun moves. The shadows grow longer. You haven't eaten. You don't care. You're beyond hunger now. You've reached a new level, philosophical starvation. You start talking to yourself. You are the fish, you say. You are the worm. You are the idiot with the stick. A bird lands near your bait. You try to shoo it. Your voice breaks. The bird just stares, unimpressed. A few hours later, a woman from the village stops by. She's looking for her son. You haven't seen him. You shake your head. She doesn't even say thank you, just walks off. You wonder if people think you're weird, sitting here, day after day, talking to rivers and threatening fish. You decide you don't care. Eventually, the cold wins. Again, you stand. Your knees complain. Your back yells. You trudge home. Inside the hut, your cousin has found an onion. He's eating it like an apple. He offers you half. You take it. It burns your mouth. You cry a little. You say it's the onion. That night, you lie awake. You dream of fish, giant ones, with teeth and tiny swords. They chase you through a frozen field. You wake up sweating. But it's not sweat. It's just melted sadness. You go back to the river because you're a fisherman, not a good one, not a lucky one. But still, you, the man with the stick, the spoon, the frozen toes, and the endless patience of someone with absolutely nothing left to do. You reach the river. It's colder than before. You think, maybe today. You know, probably not. You sit down anyway. You sit without hope. Not dramatically, just practically. Hope takes energy. Energy takes food. You ran out of both about 2 winters ago. You stare into the hole in the ice. It looks bigger today. Maybe it's just your eyes. Maybe you're shrinking. That would explain how your boots feel looser, even though you're wearing double socks made from an old scarf and wishful thinking. Your hands don't move much anymore. They twitch. They try. But mostly, they look like they're practicing being statues. You pull your line up. Still no fish. But the bread you used as bait? Gone. Again. You look up at the sky and whisper, "Really?" But you know it's pointless. The sky doesn't do refunds. You drop the line back in and rest your chin on your knees. The cold creeps through your clothes like an unwanted truth. You think about standing up, walking into the forest, disappearing. Then you remember you owe your landlord 2 chickens. You stay. 2 girls from the village walk past. They laugh. One of them points at you and says, "He's still out here?" You don't respond. You've been called worse, by people with fewer teeth. The girls are gone in seconds. Their laughter lingers. It echoes in your head. You wonder what it's like to laugh like that. You try it, just once. It sounds like a cough. You cough again. It feels like something is loose inside your chest. Something wet. Something not your friend. The coughing doesn't stop right away. You double over. Your breath comes out like smoke. Your ribs ache. Your cousin would say it's a winter cough. The healer would say, it's your humors. You say, maybe this is the beginning of the end. You straighten up eventually. You look around. No one saw. You wipe your mouth. A little red. Just a little. Nothing to worry about. You keep fishing. Around noon, a dog walks by. You recognize him. Belongs to the miller. Big, slow, mostly harmless. He walks up, sniffs your bucket, then pees on your foot. You don't stop him. You just watch. It's warm, at least. For a second. You consider thanking him, but he's already gone. You sit in silence. You think about fish, about whether they sleep, about whether they dream, about whether, in their tiny fish minds, they have stories. You imagine one fish saying to another, "He's out there again." Same one? Yeah, the one with the sadness. Oh, him. You don't cry. You just feel like you could. A man walks past on horseback. He doesn't look at you. He doesn't even slow down. You envy that. The ability to move, to go, to leave. But your legs are ice, and your life is here, frozen, familiar. You pull the line up again. There's something on it. Your heart stutters. You yank it up, too fast, and something flies out of the hole. It lands next to you with a splat. Not a fish, a boot. You stare at it. It's not your size. You don't know what's worse, that it's not food, or that part of you still feels excited to find something new. You put the boot in your bucket. Maybe you can trade it for an egg, or a curse removal. The sun begins to sink again. You've been out since morning. You didn't catch a fish. You didn't eat. You were peed on. You call it a good day, because at least nothing caught fire. You walk home. Your cousin isn't there. The room feels larger without him. Not in a good way. In the way an empty pot feels generous, until you realize it's still empty. You sit by the fire, such as it is. A few sticks, a few embers. You blow on them. They hiss. You take that personally. You take out the boot. You stare at it. You think about making soup with it. You wonder what boots taste like. Probably disappointment. You lie down. You close your eyes. You dream of a world where fish want to be caught, where people say your name, where your hands don't shake when you try to button your shirt. You wake up to frost on your face. The roof leaked again. You sit up. The boot's still there. So is the cold. You go to the river. Again. The river is quieter than usual today, not peaceful, just tired. Like even the water has had enough of this routine. You arrive dragging your feet, which now feel like they're made of wet stones. You nod at Jeffrey, the judgmental tree. He ignores you, as always. Your hole in the ice is gone. Frozen over again. Of course. You crouch, pull out your spoon, and begin scraping. Your fingers don't really work anymore, so it's more like poking at the ice while shaking uncontrollably. The sound it makes is unbearable. Metal on ice. Scrape, 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 like a rat chewing inside your brain. After 20 minutes, you have a hole. It's not pretty, but you don't care. You don't even check for fish anymore. You just drop the line and let it sink. If something bites, fine. If not, well, that's the usual. The sky above you is a dull gray slab. You haven't seen the sun in days. Maybe it died. You think about warmth. Not just fire, but real warmth. A blanket that doesn't itch. A bowl of stew. Hands that aren't blue. A house that doesn't sigh when the wind blows. You once heard a traveler say that in the South, people drink hot drinks all day. Just because. Not even to survive. Just for comfort. You almost cried when you heard that. You still think about it. The idea of drinking something warm, not as a necessity, but as a luxury. Madness. You feel something tug the line. You blink. Another tug. You grab the stick. You pull. Slowly this time. Carefully. Your heart is doing something. A flutter? A panic? You're not used to it. Up comes the line. There's weight. You keep pulling. And then, there it is. A fish. Small. Wet. Alive. You stare. It's real. You don't move for a moment. You're afraid it might disappear, like everything else good. Then you reach down and grab it. It wriggles in your hand. You hold it up to your face. You don't even know what kind it is. You don't care. You whisper, "You made a mistake," and laugh. A real laugh. Short. Hollow. But still. You drop it in your bucket. You keep your hand there, just to make sure it stays. Just to make sure this isn't some elaborate prank by the river gods. You consider going home immediately. But no. What if you catch two? Greedy. Dangerous thought. Still, you sit longer. Nothing else bites. Of course, you walk home as if guarding treasure. One small fish. Probably 2 bites of meat. Maybe 3. If you chew slowly and cry in between. Your cousin is back. He looks surprised. Not at you, at the bucket. "You caught one," he says. You nod. He sits down beside you. You clean it together. The knife you use is more rust than metal, but it works. You cook it over the fire, carefully, reverently, like it's a religious ritual. It smells like hope. You split it in half. Each of you gets a piece. You eat yours slowly. You close your eyes. You pretend it's the best thing you've ever tasted. Because maybe it is. Afterwards, you sit in silence, not sad silence, just quiet. You both look at the fire. It looks warmer now. Maybe it's the fish. Maybe it's the miracle. Eventually, your cousin says, "You'll go again tomorrow?" You nod. Of course you will, because you're a fisherman, because you caught one once, because the river owes you now, and somewhere beneath the ice, they're laughing. But so are you.